Yo, 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 what's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Gaetano. I'm here with Tito, the CEO of Alti Sales. You guys are in for a treat today. What up, Tito? Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. Great to be here.
Awesome, man. Yeah, so if you guys don't know, Tito is one of the top voices in sales, period, specifically sales development, outbound sales. Personally, I feel that there's no better person to talk about. He's won the Sales Hacker Awards. I mean, Tito, what are some of the other accomplishments that are under your belt that you can share real quick?
Man, I've been lucky enough to be named all sorts of things. So, Sales Development Leader of the Year by the Sales Development Conference, certified partner of Sales Hacker as one of the few experts in that regard. LinkedIn Top Voices, all sorts of like fun things, and I think the ones that I'm most proud of is just the testimonials from our clients. I think that the awards are fun and everything, but like when we have our clients reach out to us and be like, "You guys are amazing," and they give us introductions, that's what really excites us.
Exactly, that's what counts. But still, you've done quite a number of things in the industry. Tons of great work. I know you and I have collaborated on many projects in the past sales. So be back, man. I'm going to do a quick sort of housekeeping thing where I let people know some details. So yes, this is definitely being recorded. You will get an automated follow-up with the recording. So if you got to drop off at any point, don't feel bad about it. You're going to get the recording. The next thing I want you guys to do is if you have any questions along the way, use that Ask a Question button at the bottom of your screen. Anytime you have a question, just drop it in there, and Tito or myself will answer it for you. The other thing I wanted to let you guys know is that if you want to connect directly with Tito, the best way to do that is going to be LinkedIn. And what I'm actually going to do is add a call to action button that you should see appearing soon. And it should be there. It should say connect with Tito, a green call to action button at the bottom of the screen that says connect with Tito. If you click that, you'll go directly to his LinkedIn profile, and then you can connect with him there. So that's also pretty cool. And with that being said, I'm going to pull up this deck and get things started for you guys. We have a lot of great content to get through. But first, I want to do some shout outs because I know we've got 10 people live right now. And we've got more coming soon. And let's see who we've got. Lance, what's up, man? How you doing? Thanks for joining us. Zev, as always, it's a pleasure to have you. Ben Haggerty, how you doing, bro? Good to see you here again as well. Bryson, Stephen Carter, Felizardo, how you doing, buddy? Juan, Lou Hughes, Soshana, welcome. Everybody welcome. It's great to have you all here. I appreciate you guys doing that. If you would, real quick, also just notice in the right side that we have a chat interactive chat box. Please, hey, what's up, Felizardo? So drop where you're from real quick. I want to see where you are all from. I'm going to drop my hometown in there real quick just to get things started off. New York City, baby. So Houston, Texas in the building. What's up, Steven? Good to see you. Tito, where are you from originally, man?
Oh man, you're gonna get me started with my identity crisis. So I was mostly raised in La Paz, Bolivia, but I lived in Costa Rica, Mexico, Germany, and then within the U.S., San Francisco, North Carolina, and Miami. So
nice, man. You're all over the place. San Francisco in the building. What's up, Lou? Awesome. All right, cool. So we got people in here from all over the world, it looks like. And I'm going to share my screen and just get things started here. Atlanta, Georgia in the building. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to share my entire screen, share. And now you guys should be able to see the presentation. How is that looking, guys? Let me know.
I think we got you.
All right, awesome. I'm going into presentation mode, and we should be good to go. Tito, how am I looking? Is everything looking pretty good?
I think so. I think that looks great. So I think one of the first things we wanted to do today is talk about the main problems with outbound and like the tactics or the biggest issues that are making just people not be successful with it, right? I don't want to call them failures yet, but they're still iterating. So you can see them on this slide here, but people who are using spray and pray approach, which is like emailing anybody and everybody they can with the same message, they're going to be stuck in spam directories, and getting out of those later on is very, very difficult and very costly. Lack of targeting is creating that, when we reach out to clients, if we don't know exactly who we're talking to, or we don't really have a list of target accounts, it's hard to win clients over. Like, some people might be just those that love taking meetings left and right with anybody and everybody, and then those are really hard to win clients. So we got to be very conscious about who we talk to and how we engage them and so on. The third one that I see as a really, really big one, we're going to dive deeper into this one too, is lack of the buyer's journey mapping. So really understanding where are these people in the process of acquiring new technology or improving their business. That's really going to make a big difference. And never to forget, bad data equals wasted time. If you don't have the right phone numbers, the right emails, you can spend a lot of time building your process and your strategy and so on, but if you don't have the right data, you're just wasting a good portion of your time. The last one is the tools. Like, what are you using? How are you emailing? How are you calling? Are you recording calls? And all those things that really, really matter. So this is the top 5 things to think about as you're building sales development, and why.
Awesome. So I have a question real quick. Tito, what would you say to companies that are using tools like, say, ZoomInfo, DiscoverOrg, et cetera, to scrape data, contact data, and then once they get that data, what they do is they just start, engaging these contacts with automated outbound marketing messages, nurture sequences, if you want to call it that. What's your take on that sort of thing?
I don't think it's a great idea. One, this is already call it illegal in Europe, where you can't just go and put them into a marketing campaign, right? You have to be reaching out much more personally, one-on-one. A lot of people the medium also matters, right? So going off to LinkedIn and things like that in Europe. But we're all annoyed by people just putting us on drip campaigns where we didn't want to opt in, right? So it's about really defining your market and writing a compelling message. When you just scrape lists and try to email everybody, your increased speed is also decreasing your quality. So you got to be a little bit more conscious about who you go after and what's your message. So I actually, in the next slide, I have a really good example of an email I got a while back, a couple of months ago, I want to say. And this is just I opened this email and I immediately saw okay, you've done no work. I'm part of a marketing automation tactic. You've got my email from some directory, and you're just blasting this to everybody. There's so many signs for it. Look at their subject line. It says Talent Fusion, which is their product. And then there's a vertical line. I mean, me as a human being that doesn't work in marketing, I don't even know what keys I need to press on my keyboard to create that vertical line. So the fact that he's using that tells me that he works in marketing, sending marketing emails, right? And then did you know 2 dots ? I would never write that subject line. So everything is wrong with this email. Look at the bolding. Who writes an email with a whole sentence bolded, and then that's it?
Yeah.
And then
I mean, look at the format. Yeah.
The format's all messed up, right? And on top of that, right, and then you're gonna add your signature, right? Oh yeah, you personally wrote this to me. This is such a gimmick. I hate it. I don't know. Whoever wrote this email for Mac Katz, their marketing department, I'm sorry guys, but this is really bad.
Yeah, that's the other alarming part, right? This request, just imagine this internally happening at Monster, right? Somebody said, "Hey, marketing team, we need emails. Hey, email marketer, write some copy. Hey, let's run this through marketing automation tool, and let's scrape these contacts from a database, just like I had mentioned." So this has all the symptoms of spam, and this is exactly why it was in your Gmail spam.
Yep, exactly. I actually sent it to my Gmail spam, or oh no, it wasn't my spam. But yeah, there you go. So and here's the worst part of this all, right? So look at like how the email starts. It says Tito, and then the first word they say is their product. Talent Fusion. Like, it's not about me. It's not about how you help me. It's like, Tito, Talent Fusion recruiters are backed by a team that includes business analysts. Like, are you kidding me? You're gonna start your email to me about what how your team is composed? Like, go away, right? I don't have time for that.
Yeah, gotcha.
But like they used to say a couple of years ago, right? Ain't nobody got time for that.
Right.
So
now, I mean, Alt Sales is obviously a lot different. You and I are obviously a lot different. What is different about the way that you approach this?
Right. So I think we have a set of core beliefs that make a difference in how people should be approaching sales development, and we're leading the industry with this, right? So first thing to understand is that only a tiny portion of your market is actually looking for your solution. And I usually want to say it's definitely under 5%, most of the time under 3%, sometimes under 1%. So like if you call 100 companies that are in your target list of companies you want to sell to, less than 1% will be like, oh yeah, whatever it is, right? Like sales development services. Oh yeah, I'm looking into that. That's awesome. Like,
right.
It just doesn't happen often. If you call at random, right? If you have inbound lists and whatever, right?
Right.
So you got to understand that.
So to clarify, like even if they meet the right customer profile of a person who would buy from you, what you're going on is not necessarily based on like buying intent. Just not knowing the buying intent, taking the pure shot in the dark, you're around 1 to 5%.
Yeah, I would say you're always under 5%. And then depending on the industry or product, right? So like how often do you shop for, let's say a phone system like Nextiva has? Sometimes that's every 2 or 3 years. So what that means is that like, or maybe every 5 or 7 years, right? So what that means is that if you call 100 accounts in any given month, right? 3 years at 12 months, that's 36 months. So they're looking for it once every 36 months. That's about 3%, right? And so it is for CRM, it might be that you look at it once every like 10 years. So if it's every 10 years and you look at it for a month, then it's once every like 120 months. So it's less than 1%. And this is the account looking. Then we got to consider that you gotta have the right person. But in any case, people who are like interested in your solution is tiny, right? So don't just go look for the people who are like interested in your solution. Just define what are the people who would benefit from this. So for example, for Nextiva, it might be you guys sell to companies that have like ideally between 5 phone systems and 500, or I don't know. What is that for you guys, Gaetano? Like how many phone systems will they need to have in-house for them to be a good client for you?
Do you mean seats?
Yeah, seats.
Yeah, I mean, it ranges like, from 5 seats to, over 100. So I do want to get those 10 or above in, but we do service, fewer than 10 seats. But the sweet spot for us is between 20 and 50.
Right. So I'd say 20 and 50. So you should go figure out who those companies are that have between 20 and 50 seats. And then like, they probably already have a phone system, like, right? If they have 20 to 50 seats, it's not like they were using their cell phones before and now they're going to go buy Nextiva, right? So what they're doing is they might have a different solution. And the truth is they don't care about your product, but they care about what you can do for them, right? And this is the same for every client. Many times we reach out to somebody and we're like, hey, we're an image optimization solution. Hey, we're an advertising technology solution. Hey, we're like this, we're like that. They don't care about like what your solution is. They care much more about like, what can you do for them? How is this going to help them, right? So if you reach out and you say, hey, reach out from Nextiva, because a lot of people we talk to that have somewhere between 20 and 50 seats for their phone system tell us that one of their biggest problems is that it's disconnected from their CRM. And that sometimes the call recordings are not flowing directly into the places they need to go. And then finding the right call whenever there's an issue is just so time consuming and stressful for the managers. Is that something has that ever happened to you? right? And they're like, oh yeah, that, you know, that happens like once a month.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they weren't looking for a solution for that problem because it's quite infrequent. But if you come and show them what the problem is and explain the solution, now they're not interested in buying. It's not like, oh yeah, that happens to me, let me take out my credit card. How much does it cost? Like, what they say is, I'm curious, tell me more. And they're like, hey,
exactly.
right, let's set up a meeting and I'll show you the difference between how Nextiva does it versus any of the other phone providers, whatever you might be using. And because you're an expert in your product, or the people at Nextiva who sell there are experts at your product, now you ask them, what do you use? And let's say they say, oh, we just use like AT&T as our phone system, right? You're like, okay, great. So from what I understand, AT&T does this, 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 and this, while what we do is this, 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 and this. What you said is that you are suffering through the calls not being put into the CRM, and you're, you know, and then you can start having a deeper conversation into how systems integrate and why Nextiva is better. So just focus on the clients that are really good fits for you, but understand, right, that they are early in their journey and that you need to have professional persistence, and you need to be a subject matter expert in order to win those clients. And we're going to go into slides in a second where we're going to dive deeper into what that means.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant. And I love that last point there. You manage what you measure. That's a big one too.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit more about how we do that. And I've simplified things for the audience here and just using like Google Analytics. But before we dive into that, I want to talk a little bit about like how you gotta like approach the market, right? So yeah. I showed a really bad email, and unfortunately, like I would love to share an email from like some of my clients and so on. I just can't do it for privacy purposes. But a much better email, or a much better way to write an email, might say something like, let's say I'm trying to sell you sales development services, Gaetano, and I would do like a tiny bit of research on your account and understand that you guys have, let's say, 30 sales development reps. So I might send you an email that says like, hey, Gaetano, are you aware that companies that have over 20 sales development reps suffer inefficiencies in their process because they have a hard time standardizing blah, 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 this and that and this and that? Or, hey, Gaetano, I noticed that you have 30 sales development reps that are doing both inbound and outbound leads. And I know from your website that your pricing starts at however many dollars per seat, right? And so on. So I'm not approaching with like, hey, Gaetano, Alti-Sales is this type of company. I'm approaching you with like knowledge or insights or, you know, helpful information for you. So in the slide that we're seeing now, the reason I wanted to explain that email a little bit is this is what I call like the true understanding of a customer. This is overlaying a few different things that people talk about. I like something called PMAP, which is Pain Mobilizer Authority Project, right? Other people like MEDDIC, which is at the bottom, which is you know, the metrics, economic buyer, decision criteria, decision process, identified pain, and your champion. But regardless of what methodology you use, that's why I put them on the edges. At the center of everything is just the human psychology. So when you talk to a prospect at the beginning, right, even when we're calling them and we say, hey, this, you know, has it ever happened to you that like you need a call recording and it's not in your CRM? When you called them, they were unaware this was a problem. And you're trying to get them from the unaware process to the this sucks process, and them saying, oh yeah, this sucks. I hate it when that happens. And then you're trying to help them understand the impact, right? So it's about pain and impact. What happens?
That's good.
Yeah, what happens every time, once a month or 3 times a month, you as a manager are having that problem, but you guys have 30 SDRs or 30 seats. So imagine if every manager is spending, you know, 3 times a month with that problem. That's 12 times you're doing that. And those are like 2 hours wasted each time. So that's like 50 hours worth of manager time wasted. Your managers cost you an average $50. Man, that's like a sizable amount of money, right? So given that now we know that, like, tell me more about other areas, right? If the pain is big enough, or if the impact of that is big enough, and switching from AT&T to Nextiva is equally expensive or same price, or maybe Nextiva is just a tiny bit more expensive, then that alone might justify the switch.
Right.
If that is not big enough, you need to keep building the pain and say, tell me about, the call recordings. Do you record inbound and outbound? Do you record on any state, or do you have permission to record? What are the legal risks of not having this? And I'm not an expert in your product, so I'm trying to do my best to explain it, but hopefully you're getting it. Like the more you're building, and you don't need to build the pain infinitely. It doesn't have to be like, okay, you're losing $100 million a month, and I'm going to charge you $30, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
I usually say a 3 to 10x where the client agrees that this is a problem. So if you've identified that this costs them $10,000 a month, like you can probably sell them something worth $1,000 to $3,000 a month in additional cost that they would be willing to spend, because they're spending so much money, time, effort in a bad system or in something that's wasted.
Right. And as somebody that gets pitched a lot, like I get tons of pitches. The main reason why I reject or decline 99% of them is because they are unable to make me say, this sucks. Like nobody can, even in the first attempt, make me even think about, yeah, this is kind of a shitty situation. It's all, like you said, that monster.com style email. I get tons of those. So yeah, right. I love the idea of getting them to say, yeah, this really sucks.
Right. And a lot of the time that work is done by what we would consider account executives. So if you go to the next slide here, what you're going to see is I've grabbed the same part. I've taken out my PMAP, which is something I use internally, but not a lot of people do. And understanding where, according to where people are in the journey, what are they doing, right? So when somebody's coming inbound, and I call an inbound a hand raise. This is a demo request or a contact us form. Somebody's saying, Gaetano, can we have a meeting with your sales team?
Right.
When they're already there, it means that they've already gone through the understanding of this sucks. They already have a pain. They already understand the impact of that pain. And now they've assigned a person, right? The third orange arrow. They've assigned a person that needs to solve it. Sometimes they're coming there, which people call early, right? Just, oh, hey, I need to solve this problem. I don't have any criteria. Other people have already defined criteria, and other people are already evaluating other options. Some of them are really close to even making a decision. They're like, hey, I talked to 3 competitors of yours. I already have their quotes. I'm almost ready to sign up. What do you guys do? Right? That's an inbound.
Right. A
lot of people are confusing outbound with only warm outbound. They say the warm outbounds, these are the people, maybe a person is not yet assigned to solve the problem, but they have an understanding of why this sucks. So these are people coming to webinars, trade shows, reading case studies, clicking around on your website. Right. They're investigating your solution. It means that there's pain, but they haven't yet decided to make it a project. Pain, right? Authority, a PMAP, right? Mobilize our authority project. So they have the pain, they're missing the mobilize our authority. So they're missing that person needs to solve it.
Right. So what's your take on warm outbound with marketing automation? Because this is another kind of area where a lot of kind of the old school marketing leaders, they're still big on volume. They still think like, a lot of this is a volume play. And what they want to do with the warm outbound category is automate that almost entirely. So what is your take on either automating that or doing kind of a personalized warm outbound approach?
I think it depends on a few factors. One is your average deal size. And before we get into that, let me preface this by saying, if we look at the people who are coming inbound to your company, it's probably 0.01% of your market in any given month. Right? It is a tiny portion. People who are already saying like, yes, I need to buy this or your competitor. In warm outbound, you might have like 0.9% of your market, right? These are the people who are coming to webinars, trade shows, case studies. And I think you can automate a portion, but the first thing I would do is lead routing and really say every warm outbound that we're finding, are they your preferred account, which is 20 to 50 seats? Are they way bigger? Are they way smaller? And then that puts it in a bucket. And after he puts it in a bucket, there's a second logic-based algorithm that says, or logic-based tool that says, okay, who came in? Is this the VP of customer support or sales? Is this a director? Is this a manager? Or is this an intern? And according to those two criteria, you can route appropriately. And we could run a whole other webinar on what to route where and why, because it's complex and it's helpful. However, some of that I would automate, but if they are a 40-seat account in the right market with the right person, I'd have a dedicated SDR, because what if you automate and then they get an email, they're like, yeah, I see this email is somewhat automated. I don't want to, I'm just doing my research. I don't want to talk to anybody yet. I'll come in whenever I'm ready.
Right.
Well, if it's a person and it really sounds personalized and they do the effort to go to their website and share some insights, your chances of converting a warm outbound into an opportunity is higher. So depends on your account value too. If it's a $500 a year spend, not worth it. But a 40 or 50 deal seat for you guys, I don't know what that is, but it must be over $10,000 or $20,000 a year. I would definitely put the effort in. Any deal that's over $20,000 a year, 100% put the effort, because that's a worthy account.
Yep.
And then the truth is, though, here we spent all this time talking about the 1% of your market. 0.1 is coming inbound. 0.9 is going warm outbound. Literally 99% of your market has no idea they need you.
Right.
So how do you go about them? And that's the hard part. That's what I was talking about. You got to go and tell them, hey, is this ever happened to you? Are you aware of this problem? Have you considered this thing? Similar companies to you have felt that by using this or not using this, or hey, I noticed you use Shopify, or I noticed you do this, right? All those insights help a prospect move from a cold outbound to now giving you a chance to talk to them. And when you're talking to them, you're still in that area where they're cold outbound, but you've secured a meeting. You've secured a cold outbound meeting. It is the account executive's work to make the prospect say, this sucks. I understand the pain and I understand the impact of that pain, or I understand the opportunity I can take advantage of, right? So imagine, let's say that Nextiva is spending $100,000 in Facebook ads or in Google ads, right? And I tell you, Gaetano, let's have a meeting. In that meeting, my purpose would be to show you how I can grab those $100,000 and bring you 20% more signups on your website. You're not looking for a solution for this, but if I show you that I can get you 20% more signups and you're spending $100,000 a month, I'm literally giving you $20,000 worth of value. I'm gifting you $20,000. And you'd be like, dude, $20,000 gifted to me? I mean, you're a director demand generation, maybe not as impactful for you, but anybody lower in the organization or even your CFO would be like, get right on it. We're going to make another 240 grand if this works. So it's a worthy opportunity to explore. That's what.
That's awesome, man. I mean, this is pure gold. Dude, I can't say enough about how good this is. I actually want to see if there's any questions or comments from the audience real quick. I'm going to back out of the screen share and go back to us just talking. Is there anybody on the call that has any questions or anything at this point?
And it's funny because we're all seeing your screen repeated like a million times because you're screen sharing. So
oh yeah, I'm gonna close that out.
Share for a second.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop the screen share for a second. Yeah. All right, so we do have some questions. We've got one from Lance. What is your recommendation or advice? In fact, Lance, I'm just gonna invite you on the screen real quick. Yeah, Zev, I know it's like that bathroom with the creepy, weird mirror stuff happening. It only does that for a second while I share the screen and don't have our faces up. But yeah, Lance, I just invited you onto the call, so let's see if we can get you on here and to talk with us real quick before we continue. He's accepting and connecting right now, so this is cool. This is another reason why I love Crowdcast, because with all the other webinar platforms, basically all you can do is just kind of talk to the person without them being there. But with Crowdcast, you can invite a third and even a fourth party to join the webinar and talk real quick. So I think it's pretty cool that you can get super interactive. So yeah, Lance is accepting right now. So he's authorizing his video and mic and should be here in a second.
Cool.
Super cool.
Yeah, and if anybody else has any other questions they want to pop up in the chat, maybe if these are easier to answer, I can just answer them live. That would work too.
Cool.
He says, "Can you guys hear me?" So I don't think so.
It's still accepting and connecting. It's still pushing them through. Let's give it a second. Let's give another moment. Hopefully this works. Let's see.
We can. I think he can hear us. Let's read the question first. If he can connect, that'd be awesome. If not, no big deal. So he said,
Okay,
"What is your
cool.
recommendation or advice for a company that doesn't know or understand the problems their product solves?" I think that is a really big problem, and
Massive problem.
you mentioned there you are a pre-revenue startup, and literally you don't need sales development at the moment.
You need product market fit, right? Like,
right. A pre-requirement for sales development are two things: product market fit and message market fit, right? Message market fit you can develop with sales development in conjunction. Product market fit you can't. So you need to have enough people look at your product and say, wow, I know what this could do for me. You need somebody who's a little bit of a visionary in the industries that you're trying to work with, and somebody's going to like grab your product and say, wow, this is awesome. Well, they might say, hey, this is crap, I don't need it. And if it's crap and they don't need it, it's going to be really hard to try to convince other people to take a meeting with you, because they're like, what can you do for me? You're like, I don't know. Do you want to see a product that doesn't do anything for you? No, man, I'm busy, right? Ain't nobody got time for that. So yeah, you gotta learn what the problem is. And in the early stages, when you're a pre-revenue startup, if you've gone through an accelerator or things like that, or you at least have friends and family, show it to people. Who's your market? Go out on the streets. Don't try to do sales development over the phone or email or download lists. No, you gotta get out there, talk to your target market, go in person. Gift them your time in exchange for their opinion. And once you figure out what's the problem you solve, that's when you start outbound sales development. So yeah, that'd be my best advice, Lance. I think it's gonna be hard for you to connect right now. I don't know what's necessarily working or not working.
Cool. That's a great question. There's another question from Cam. How do you recommend starting an internal dialogue to move us away from high volume marketing and toward marketing-focused messaging on the buyer's journey, essentially a migration toward that PMAP/MEDDIC methodology that you showed before, which was fantastic?
Yeah, that's a little bit of a hard one to really tell, because it's a little bit about your company's leadership, and that will depend on how your leadership is thinking through it. But I would say it's like anything. It's like you're trying to get buy-in from the organization to change what matters. So I would talk to whoever's leading the organization for sales development, right? Or for marketing or for sales, whoever's leading the whole SDR team, and have them understand what are the potential problems that you're running into by running the company this way. So one of them might be to say, our open rates are down and down and down. Our reply rates are down and down and down. Or our effectiveness is lower and lower and lower. Or, people are marking us spam. We're entering spam directories or whatever else, right? Or the quality of the leads that we're getting is just not high enough. That happens a lot when people are just emailing left and right and everybody. Hey, there we go.
There's Cam. What's up, man?
I can hear you guys here, unfortunately. Let me see if I can fix this.
Okay.
This is
change
cool.
Camera and mic.
We hear you pretty good though, Cam. Looks like
I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can hear you.
You. It's fun. Let's see here. Okay.
Cam, what you might have
to
that's
do unfortunate, because I can't hear you guys at all, so we can't really have much of a conversation.
Unplug.
I do really like the concept of this, though.
Unplug your headphones. All right, I guess it may not work. So it's an audio glitch where he has to usually right click on his.
Yeah, there we go. I can hear you guys.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Hey.
Cool.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
Oh, nothing much. How you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for joining us. So you're wondering how you get buy-in from your org to like move towards this methodology of more targeted and specific kind of like targeting.
Yeah, and it's certainly you got to approach it in a very respectful manner, and we already have our plans in place. So I certainly don't want to come across as kind of like not staying in my lane, so to speak, right? But this is something that I think would really benefit us, because we're kind of in that stage where, marketing passes us a ton of leads. Not a lot of them are qualified, but there's pressure to at least put touches on them and follow up with them. Even though, again, they're pretty early on in the journey, they probably don't even have awareness. Again, I know it's very specific between each different organization, but it's something that I've been seeing that I think we would benefit from the approach that you outlined earlier with PMAP and Medic.
Yeah. What I would recommend there is to go and look at the deals that have done well in your org, like what has converted.
Yeah.
And go up to your boss or your boss's boss and bring those up and be like, hey, here's something I've been doing lately. I've been trying to understand where do we find our like biggest opportunities or our best deals. And the correlation I found between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 deals that we closed is that they all have X, Y, and Z in common.
Right.
And I'm wondering if I could focus just on that and see if that can turn maybe into lesser meetings, but higher revenue, right?
Okay.
So at the end of the day, leadership of the company is interested in revenue. Like, nobody just wants meetings. If I tell you, Cam, do you want 10 meetings and $5,000 in revenue, or 3 meetings and $50,000 in revenue? Like,
yeah.
Do we need to discuss this? Like, no.
Of course. Yeah.
People want the money. So just try to do a little bit of an investigation and analysis of where the money is coming from. And then with that, I would go armed to your, to whatever, all the way up to the CEO of the company if need be, and see like,
sure,
here's how we're finding revenue. And
cool.
And then say, then get their permission to investigate approaches. And then say, hey, here's what I'm seeing. So I love to go investigate approaches in my free time to see how we can do better. Would you be okay if I bring you a report, or if I bring you some insights in a few weeks? They're going to be like, Cam, that's amazing. Yes, please do. And then you can, I can send you some articles and stuff like that, or engage some vendor even, and have them have a conversation with me. And then they'll be like, holy cow, this is great. And maybe they'll use Altisales as a consulting or supplement, or maybe they won't. And they'll just be like, because I'm not trying to sell them services, I'm trying to solve them on the problem.
Right.
I'm with you in convincing them that this is a problem. Once they say this is a problem, maybe they're like, okay, I get it. We got to do it the Altisales way. We're just going to do it in-house. And I'll be like, excellent. Done. Right?
Awesome.
So that'd be my best advice there.
Hey, Cam, I'm curious. What are you guys selling?
Supply chain risk management software. So basically tells you about situations that can disrupt material flow in your end-to-end supply chain.
Okay, got it. And how is your marketing team getting these leads?
Combination. So our best leads are the ones that convert into the highest quality opportunities or events, which I'm sure you guys probably, it's not really scalable, right? Other than that, we have sort of your traditional drip campaigns, LinkedIn, content-based campaigns. I'm not overly knowledgeable about how marketing is done, but to my knowledge, that's what we're doing over here, at least.
Okay, understood.
Yep. Yeah, when people are going to events, they're usually in a buying mode too. Right. Like they're going and looking to learn more, right? So you gotta, events always convert well, but they're very expensive for leads.
Of course.
And they're impossible to scale, right? I tell people Dreamforce being one of the big conferences that a lot of people understand. I'm like, okay, one booth at Dreamforce, like 100 leads. Okay, what are you gonna do next year? 2 booths?
Right. Right. Exactly.
Are you gonna pull your leads with 2 booths? Like, are you kidding me? You're not. It's twice the money for 1.1 the results, right? Like you might get 10% more of these, but it's the same freaking people walking that floor. Like, It's not going to get any better. So yeah,
Cool.
Awesome.
you got to
Well,
figure
hey,
out
thanks.
outbound.
Thanks for joining us, man. Thank you, Cam. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Cool. So yeah, Lou says events are a total waste of our clients' money. If you don't know what you're doing, absolutely, I would agree with that.
Yep. I wouldn't say that there is a way that always works or a way that doesn't work, but if you really know how to run things, you can make those things work. And the one thing I love about outbound is that it's scalable, right? Events can be great or can be bad. If they're great, awesome. If they're bad, that sucks. Same with outbound or inbound or whatever else. But outbound, you put twice as many people, you get twice as many leads. Events, you put twice as much money, you don't get twice as many leads, right? Billboards on the highway, sure, they can work, but 2 billboards are not going to work twice as good as 1 billboard. I guarantee you that.
Exactly. A lot of I agree. A lot of tire kickers. I'm going to get back to the screen share mode, by the way. I'm going to go back to the presentation slide, but
and we have 19
awesome.
more minutes, right? We're going to be done here in just a little bit. So I want to give some time for Q&A, but we can hop a little bit into like how to build this world-class outbound team, right? Like what are some of the things that I recommend for people to have? So here is what I usually call our minimum viable pod, or the minimum viable team you need to set up in order to be able to be successful, right? So what we do at Alti Sales is we always have to each of our clients assigned where we're helping them build this sales development team, a junior sales development rep who is doing all the data gathering and email sending. They're literally going and personalizing every email. They're not on the phone with clients. They're not doing anything like that. They're literally living on their browser, researching things, putting them on Excel. Then we have senior SDRs, and our senior SDRs are just phone focused, and they're focused on responding to any emails that get replied that the junior SDR sent. So the junior SDR is actually sending the emails on behalf of the senior SDR. And then they're making those 100 calls a day and responding to emails and so on. And our play is always to make a phone call, send an email, make another phone call, send another email to the same person, right? So it just, it's the consistency of the same person calling and emailing a few times. You only want to do it like 6 to 8 touches or 10 touches. You don't want to send them 40 touches and annoy the hell out of these people.
Right.
So
do you also like mix it up, do some LinkedIn outbound as well?
It depends on your market, right? So if you're trying to sell something to truck drivers, like you don't want to use LinkedIn. Like they're not on LinkedIn. They hardly ever create a profile. They don't really log in, right? If you're trying to sell to recruiters, like they're on LinkedIn all the time. Like do send them a LinkedIn message, right? So it's a little bit about who you sell to as well. Then you need an SDR manager, somebody who's going to do the trainings, the coaching, the one-on-ones, somebody who understands like what are best practices for the right emails to be built, the right, whatever processes, calendar invites, anything else that has to do with that. You need a data analytics manager, somebody who can build all your reports, understand what data sources are working well, which ones are not, what's your connect rate when you download data from ZoomInfo versus EverString versus LeadIQ, somebody who can build you email effectiveness reports. How many emails are we sending? How many of those are converting? How many are positive? How many are neutral? How many are negative? So those people are very important. And then finally, you need executive strategists. You need somebody who's been doing outbound for a little while at least and can build your email strategy, your phone calls, your call pathing, data gathering processes, and all this. So when we work with clients, this is kind of what we do. You can totally do this in-house too. I just recommend if you're missing any of these pieces here, if you have an SDR who's doing both the data gathering and the phone calls, they're probably making 20, 30 phone calls a day and then spending the rest of the time like data gathering and working inbounds versus outbounds and things like that. So it's highly inefficient. So that's why one of the points that I had earlier in the PowerPoint is building a well-operated team is really going to create world-class and it's going to increase your efficiency. And never to forget, you need good data, otherwise you're screwed. And then you need good enablers. Like, you need a dialer. So, here we are at Nextiva hosting this webinar. The dialer of Nextiva works really well. You need the call recordings. You need CRM. You need a way to inspect that the calls are going well, that you have them stored, that you can practice with your team. Because as you'll see in the next slide, then you can build yourself like quick dashboards and charts and really start understanding like okay, how much pipeline are we building? How many meetings do we have held for the past few months or weeks? And, what's our show rate in terms of like percentage from the meetings we're setting? And really understand your call dispositions and make it easy.
What do you consider hooks? What do you consider hooks accepted?
That's all like internal AltiSales lingo. I feel like I should have maybe blurred out those. They're not going to be as important for people. It's about developing your own methodology, like understanding how many times does a prospect say, okay, I already have a system in place, or the times that they say like, oh, like whatever, all sorts of objections, or like, oh, we just like not interested, or like we don't do that, or we have a different tool. So if you can mark those calls with your custom dispositions, right, within the Nextiva dialer, then you can go look at those calls and have your team practice more and say, oh, okay, so whatever, right, we are doing X, Y, and Z, and this objection is really hard to overcome, and then you can practice on those.
Right. What's your take on scripts? Do you guys use that as well?
We like not scripts that you read, but we like what we call call guidelines. Okay. So when somebody picks up the phone, like I think that people who talk about scripts talk about it in a very or people who don't use scripts and think about scripts, think about it in a very strict way. Like, this is the word by word thing you need to say. And in reality, you don't need to say something word by word, but it's also not that you can say anything in the world and try anything in the world. So if somebody's like, hello, this is Gaetano, and I'm like, Sivra, television, computer view, like, what the fuck? You're talking nonsense, right? So there's a finite number of things you can test. So do you say, hey, Gaetano, this is Tito, or do you say, hello, Gaetano, I'm calling from AltiSales, or do you say, cheers, bro, I'm just calling from, whatever. Like, there's a finite number of things. So do you need a script that's word by word? Not necessarily. Would it be helpful to have some guidelines on what is better to say versus not as good to say? Always. I'll give you a really good example that a lot of people love hearing about, which is, how do you ask for referrals? So you're on the phone and the objection is like, I'm not the right person to talk to. So a lot of people, their reaction is like, oh, no worries. Do you know who's the right person to speak with? And literally the conversion rate on that one is about 1%. About 1% of people say, sure, you have to talk to this person. What's a better way to say, hey, I'm not the right person to speak with? What you do is you say, Gaetano, my bad here, man. I was doing research on your account and I had your name. I also have Mark Johnson and Michael Stewart as other people responsible for the demand generation program at Nextiva. I was going to call them both. Do you think one of them is better than the other? Or if neither is good, who should I talk to?
Wow.
About a 70% referral rate. So, boom, mind blown. I just got you to be 70x better. Right? But you got to test it. And that's now part of our referral script. What do you say on a script to get a better referral?
Right.
So, yeah.
But it all comes to reach too. Like, I don't know that Smith are also, partial stakeholders in demand generation. You wouldn't be able to run that.
Right. So if you have the right data, and if you have a junior SDR who's bringing in all the information, and if you've set yourself up appropriately with a CRM or dialer or whatever, and before you call every account, you give it a quick glance at all the people who are there, you can learn a lot more. And I don't have many more slides. The only other things that I was going to maybe highlight is, if people want to learn more about what I've talked about today, or there's insights, you can look at my lead qualification guide for inbound and outbound, SDR to AE handoffs, how to run outbound demos, how to set your sales goals for your SDR team, SDR outsourcing guides. I talk and write a lot about this. I live and breathe sales development all the time. So happy to take more questions. We have 10 more minutes before we gotta shut this down. So
awesome, man, dude. This has been phenomenal. I mean, such a wealth of knowledge, free knowledge, unbelievable knowledge. I mean, this is the kind of shit you can't learn in the classroom, can't learn in school. Obviously, you can't get a degree in sales. This is the best way to learn about it. And dude, you've just been mind blown today for sure. So let's get into some Q&A while we still have some time. We've got about 5 minutes left. I'm going to stop this portion of the screen share and get back to us here. And we have lots of questions. So here's one from Felizardo. Why the junior SDR doesn't answer emails? So essentially he wants to know, like, why would the junior SDR send the emails, but then the senior SDR be responsible for replying to those emails?
That's a little bit about how we have set it up. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. The reason we've set it up that way is for cost efficiency. So somebody who's mostly going to be doing research and going on websites and finding information and putting it on Excel sheet, you can totally hire somebody in the US and pay them $40,000 a year, right? If you're in San Francisco or New York, you better pay them 60 or more, because otherwise it's not a livable amount of money. Or you can do the Altisales way, where I have somebody in Philippines that makes $1,100 a month, or about, $15,000 a year, no taxes or benefits or anything on that. It's a contractor, and then they can do the same work. So what that creates is, rather than me having to spend, if we consider office space, taxes, benefits, insurance, blah blah blah, instead of having to spend $80,000 or $90,000 a year for the same type of job, I can have somebody who's like an Excel geek who's super efficient and knowledgeable for a fifth or a sixth of the price. And then that's how we set it up now. Now the reason we have to do that too is we're a sales development outsourcing company, and we really make our margins on the efficiency of the team. So unless we run super efficiently, our clients can would just be able to do what we do like in-house, and then we can't win. So the only way we run this world-class team in a cost-effective manner is by having the SDR research, but it's really our senior SDRs who are US-based who respond to the emails. So hopefully that clarifies it for you, Felizardo.
Awesome, man. So Lou, unable to join. He said he didn't dress up for the occasion. All good, man. But it sounds like he can text and wants to just get your thoughts on data providers, experiences, things to think about when evaluating a data partner. That's a really good question. They all kind of sell the same thing, same value propositions. When you go to their websites, everything is almost the same. It's really hard to crack one or the other. Tito, what is your mindset on this?
Yeah, I've made the mistake of trying to find cheap data providers that would do a great job, and it's been a scam every time.
Right.
And data is something that you can't even trial, because the problem with trialing data is you say, okay, send me a sample of like 50 or 100 contacts or whatever, and they will literally go manually verify those 50 contacts, because they know that if they do that, you will sign a 50K deal, 30K deal, whatever. So I don't trust data provider sales processes anymore. What I say is you got to go with a reputable company. So there's Discover.org, there's Everstring, there is DataFox, there is ZoomInfo, RainKing, LeadIQ, Seamless AI, Lucia. All these people at least have a brand name out there where if you're selling B2B, you can trust them. And I would recommend, if at all possible, starting with a month-to-month contract or a quarterly contract. I would try to shy away from yearly contracts unless you've already tested it extensively. Clearbit is also a really good one. Yep. So I like them. Clearbit, I don't think does phone numbers, so we haven't used it much. I know their email verification is really good. They're also very much on the high end. They're expensive, but quality is very, very high. So, and it's always worth it. I would pay $3 an email and $3 per phone call if you find me every freaking phone number that I want for every person that I need, and you find me the exact email that matches. It's so valuable. So yeah, hopefully that clarifies things.
Yeah, dude, I agree. I have used Clearbit in the past for like database enrichment projects, and the match rate can be anywhere from like 60 to 80%, which is like really high. As Tito said, they are a bit on the high end side, but they are worth it in that case. However, we were using it for marketing purposes and not necessarily outbound sales. So, the lack of phone number could hurt you there. So it's just a choice that you'll have to make at some point. So, dude, I think that concludes the webinar. I don't believe that there's any more questions. We're just about out of time. Tito, this has been awesome, man. Thank you again for joining us and sharing all this phenomenal knowledge. I did put the Connect with Tito call to action button there at the bottom, but Tito, just your email, I'll drop the chats off.
Yeah, you're cutting off a little bit. I think LinkedIn is the best way to connect with me.
Okay.
I've gotten like email overwhelm lately from too many people emailing me. So LinkedIn is a good way to connect, and you also get my content and stuff like that. I don't necessarily believe I can like help people too much via email, but again, you can click on the Connect with Tito button down there, or just the link on the chat. Either way is fine. Always happy to be a resource to point you to in the right direction, and like everybody, just be short and sweet with your messages, and I'll be happy to point you places. I'm extremely busy, like everybody. My time is valuable, just like yours. So, yeah, anything I can do to help, it'd be my pleasure.
Awesome. And I'm dropping your Sales Hacker articles and guides into the chat as well. Would highly recommend you guys check that stuff out, give it a read, and study Tito's methodology. So thank you guys once again. Tito, thank you, bro. This has been awesome, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, take care, everybody. See ya.
All right, peace.